Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So for this one, I actually really want to get into this idea here. This is something that I hope or I wish the show could do, and it's a storyline that I think would honestly be really exciting because there is an aspect, I would say, to the Walking Dead universe right now where certain stories don't feel as, I don't want to say real or legit, but the comic ended, and so we want to see different versions of that. We want to see certain stories told from the comic, right? Yes, technically The Walking Dead just ended last November and we were getting some comic story there with the Commonwealth, but I don't think people were really that big of a fan of the Commonwealth arc, or at least I wasn't. Like, the Commonwealth arc in the comic was exciting at first, up until about issue, 177, 178, around there. Definitely by the time we got to issue 180, it kind of, the excitement died down quite a bit. And there's a lot of really great character stuff there, during the end of the Whisperer arc that we just never got into in the comic. And I think they could do some of that here in Dead City Season 2 with Negan, Sherry, and Dwight. So I want to talk about that here. So before we go any further, obviously make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. And if you haven't followed me on Twitch yet, definitely go do so. My channel name is Appetite for the Dead. The link should be in the description, but let's get into this here. So obviously, in order for this to work out, we would need to have Dwight and Sherry on Dead City, right? And I think that is very possible. Unless one of the two die in Fear the Walking Dead, obviously that is always possible, but I don't see that happening, first of all. I see both characters surviving because I think you want to have both characters in these spin-offs, and that is where I see, or not where, but why I see Fear ending, is because they want to have the characters from that show on these other spin-offs. And I think it works perfectly. You could have Morgan on the Rick and Michonne spin-off, and etc., right? Madison could go there, and I think that is something that fans have been really wanting to see for a long time, and I think it's something that they should give us at this point, right? Like, it's been a long time. I think it just, at this point, it makes sense. Start reuniting everyone, start having these characters more involved. The Walking Dead is over. You're in this place now where you're setting up these spin-offs. Like what are you waiting for now, right? Like, do these things now. And I think that's the reason for Fear ending, right? I think Fear the Walking Dead is going to end. We're going to have certain characters that we might not ever see again. Certain characters might die, but there's going to be characters like Dwight, Sherry, Madison, Morgan that'll likely go into other spinoffs and stuff. And I really do hold out hope for Madison to be in those other spinoffs, just because I don't think Alicia is going to be returning to Fear. I think that's a lot. I think if anything, they'll just have the reunion on like Dead City or the Rick and Michonne show or something like that, right? Like, they might do something like that, or just do another project with those characters. Like, there's going to be a lot of other spinoffs announced. Like, that's just sort of what they're doing. But in terms of Dwight and Sherry, I think those two characters specifically should go to Dead City. And first of all, is Dead City even going to be getting a season 2? Most likely. I mean, they've already sort of referenced the fact that Dead City is, these first 6 episodes are a part of season 1. And the filming crew for Dead City, because they filmed in New Jersey, they're the same filming crew that are filming the Rick and Michonne show right now. So I think once this show's done filming in the next 2 months, then they'll probably switch over and they'll start to do some Dead City. Jeffrey Dean Morgan did finish up with The Boys. He might have some other projects that he's up to, but I'm guessing they're likely going to be filming Dead City Season 2 probably around the same time. They honestly could start in like July or something like that, and then film for another 6 episodes. And I think around that point, I mean, first of all, it depends, I guess, on what you want to do story-wise, if Dwight and Sherry are there. But yeah, like that could be spoilery, because I know fans are going to get photos of the set and stuff like that, right? But yeah, I think Dwight and Sherry, I think they should be on the show for season 2. For one, I want the Dwight and Negan reunion. I really do want that. There's so much there that is just hasn't been uncovered yet. Like, there's just so much there between those two characters. Like, Dwight turned on him, but there was never really a moment between the two characters where they got to talk and stuff after, because so much of the war was happening there at the end of season 8 that things, it became very action oriented, and there wasn't a lot of focus just on the character stuff between those two. And I think having those two characters reunite after all of this time, I would like to see how that would go, because first of all, Negan isn't the same person he was. Like, he's just not the same person he was, right? He's definitely a better person now, but Dwight, obviously, could he forgive him? And more than that, there's other aspects to Dwight as a character where he's very much like, there's just something about Negan And when he's around, Dwight he just listens to him, and he's so easily charmed by him that he just sort of falls under his spell kind of thing, right? So is Dwight still in that same place? Sherry, obviously, I mean, if Sherry's around, then I don't think Dwight's going to fall for that. But again, like, we can explore some of that dynamic again, and it would be really amazing because Sherry has brought Negan up quite a bit in Fear the Walking Dead. Like, she hates him, right? So I think it would be really interesting to have those characters come together on Dead City. Also, considering Dead City's story seems to be somewhat centered on the fact that Negan is wanted for his crimes as being the leader of the Saviors. Like, there's some stuff, I guess, that he did in his past with the Saviors that is obviously coming back to haunt him here. And there's some people here that want him dead or want him in a cell, I guess, or something, right? So there could be some interesting things that could be worked out here, especially if Dwight and Sherry are maybe a part of that group that want to find him, right? There could be such amazing stuff that they could explore here. Not only that, there's a storyline from the comic that I would really like them to do, and that is with Sherry's death. I think if they killed off Sherry in season 2 or season 3 of Dead City, I just think it would be really entertaining as a storyline, because in the comic, what happened was, I mean, Sherry at this point, I mean, Sherry was always kind of crazy. Like, she was not the character she is on the show. Like, on the show, she's just, she's an awesome character. She's a really great down-to-earth character on Fear the Walking Dead and on The Walking Dead, right? And in the comic, she really wasn't that. She was evil. She was a savior, and she just, like, I don't know, there wasn't a lot of character development there with the character. She just kind of yelled a lot, and it was like just one of those things. Like, she was just like a background character for the Saviors, I think there was another character actually in the Saviors. I think his name was John. Like, there was a bunch of Saviors there where, like, they had names but they weren't really explored in detail. Sherry was one of those characters, and when she died in the comic, first of all, she came at Rick, and this was after the Saviors were basically, it seemed like an all-out war part 3 was about to start, and she was like the leader of the Saviors, it seemed like, and she wanted certain things. I think she wanted some land, or she wanted some materials, or there was something like that. There was some sort of thing going down, and Rick was trying to, like, talk her out of it. They were trying to come to an agreement or something, and then she really went all out on Rick, and she was just, like, slamming the table, and it seemed like she was probably going to kill Rick, but I think she slipped, or her chair, like, slipped or something like that, and she fell, and it was just an accident. She broke her neck or something like that, and she died, and Rick was shocked, and then Dwight walks in. I think it went down like that. I could be wrong. I really could be getting this wrong, but I know that Dwight, when he came in, he was wondering, like, what happened? And Rick just said it was an accident, like, whatever. And he obviously wasn't gonna believe Rick, because, like, there was some tension there already, and it just seemed like, well, Rick just got rid of Sherry because she was the leader of the Saviors. Now is the easy thing to do, and so there was some tension growing there between Dwight and Rick. I think doing something like that here for Dead City could be really interesting. Imagine if you had a season 2 where maybe at first things are kind of tough, but, like, you build up some sort of good relationship maybe between Dwight and Negan, where they sort of start to become friends, or Dwight does see a change in him and he's like, no, you know what? I get it. Like, you changed. Like, we've all done bad things. I get it. And you start to form something there, just like Rick and Dwight did in the comic, where they started to become friends. But imagine if Negan and Sherry are having this, like, confrontation or something in a room, and then Sherry accidentally dies, but then Dwight walks in. Like, Dwight's going to be like, you killed her, even though he never did. It's going to look like that. And then it causes this whole feud, and there's so much tension there. And then I think that could be a really amazing storyline. I think that could be a really great cliffhanger for season 2 of Dead City if it ended with Sherry's death, and you sort of remix it with some of the stuff happening with, some of the storyline in New York with people wanting Negan, or wherever the story is at that point. I'm not sure how Maggie factors into all of that with Herschel and stuff. I think that could be a really great storyline. And then in season 3, you can kind of explore that a little bit, because Rick and Dwight, man, like, I really wanted them to explore that a lot more in the comic, and they just never really did. They got around to it a little bit, obviously. It did eventually build up to the point where Dwight was going to kill Rick, or I guess kill Pamela Milton, but then Rick shot Dwight, and that just sort of ended that. So in a sense, we would get that maybe in the season 3 finale, where Dwight would hold his gun to a leader or something over there, and then Negan would shoot him. I just don't see them remixing that, because we sort of got that a little bit on the show, but they could build up something really fascinating there, something really interesting, do something so fun. And I think, honestly, that could fill up 2 seasons. Like, you can do so much there with those 2 characters. And so this is why I really want Dwight and Sherry to be on season 2 of Dead City. I think it just fits really well. And I honestly, I do like the crossovers, and I, I've always sort of somewhat supported them anyways. I never liked when Dwight went to Fear, but I did like when Morgan went to Fear. At first anyways. I just think overall that's just something that they should be doing a little bit more right now, at least in terms of, Fear is ending now. So what's the excuse now, right? Like, these characters should be able to go back, or I guess not go back, but just have these reunions or meet up or cross over with these other characters on these other spin-off shows. I think it's the perfect time for it. You want to expand everything here. You want to make things exciting. You got to start doing stuff like this because people are going to really like that. Like, I can already see people being so hyped. Imagine you're watching Dead City and then in season 1 it ends on a cliffhanger where we see Dwight show up or something like that, or even Fear the Walking Dead. Like, maybe you end Fear the Walking Dead in a way where it shows Dwight and Sherry going to New York City or something like that, right? And then we know, oh, Maggie and Negan are there. We know what's about to happen for season 2, and then there's going to be a bunch of theories and stuff. Like, I want this to happen so bad. I really want Dwight and Sherry to be on Dead City. I want Alicia to be on Dead City too. Ever since Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Alicia Dednam Carey were talking on Twitter, they're like, I would love to see that because maybe that opens the door for Madison to go to that show, right? Like, I just want to see more of these characters on these other shows. Fear the Walking Dead story was just never, I don't know, it was just never up to par with what The Walking Dead had to offer, right? And maybe it's because of the characters, but that's the thing. You have Madison, Strand, or Daniel, or whoever on these other shows interacting with Negan, with Daryl, or whoever, Rick, right, Carol. I think these characters are just going to be fan favorites instantly. I mean, they already are fan favorites, but I just think we're going to see the potential there. We're going to see exactly how great these characters actually are, right? And I want to see that. I really do want to see those interactions. I know a popular one is Rick and Madison. People have wanted those two characters to meet for a long, long time, and I think it would be really cool. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I think that would be really awesome if it did actually happen, and I think a perfect way to do that is end Fear with Rick and Madison, not Rick and Madison, but Morgan and Madison maybe being captured by the CRM or going there or something like that, right? I think that could be really cool. But anyways, post your thoughts down below on the idea of Fear characters going to these spinoffs, and also, I guess, give some thoughts on sort of what I was suggesting there with Dwight and Sherry and Negan, and if you would like to see those characters sort of have scenes together again. Definitely post your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.